11 years ago, I got the telephone call that every parent dreads. It was basically you have to come to the hospital straight away. Your daughter is in the ER, and I said, "How is that possible?" And so I went to Yale. It was at Yale, and they said, "Well, your daughter's blood sugars are around 500. She's completely dehydrated. She was about to go into coma." And I was, how is that possible? Why didn't we know? Where were the indicators? Where were the signs? And actually, my wife had thought that something profoundly was wrong, but she couldn't get the general practitioner to think along with her. And she was kind of a lonely warrior to get her blood tested, and then people saw that something was really, really, really wrong. So we took our daughter into the hospital, and she was very brave. She was 13 at that time, very brave, and she adjusted to a new reality, and we had to adjust to a new reality. And she was way better at it than I was, and I'm still struggling with it. And from then on, she was basically on her own in dealing with her disease. So she had to check her blood sugars 6 times a day. She had to inject. And she really suffered, because it was not only the fact that she started reading about the disease and understand that these people die younger, they have complications. A lot of people struggle with the fact whether they should have children themselves. But it also created anxiety. So in the sense that she felt she had to be in control of everything. She had to be in control of what she eats. She had to be in control of her activity. And she needed to be supported in this. And then I started looking at how the healthcare system was supporting her. And I experienced that it was completely fragmented, because she had different aspects of her condition. She was speaking to different specialists that clearly were not talking to each other. She had a general practitioner that was passive at best, and she needed psychological help. But she couldn't find somebody who could deal with people like her, young women with a condition, because there were a lot of things coming together. So she learned to live with it, and then she left home. She went to college in New York, got a job, and she started calling us. So we moved back to Holland. She started calling us. She said, I really have problems with insurance. They don't want to reimburse this, and they want me to switch, my glucose meter, and she said, I don't feel well. I said, what's wrong here? It's fragmented. Nobody really understands how a young woman like her deals with it. There's nobody who takes ownership of her condition. And on top of that, she's fighting with the insurance. So I said, this cannot be. This cannot be. And she doesn't have any tools to deal with her condition. She doesn't have any support with this. So we convinced her to come to the Netherlands in the hope that things would be better. So she's no longer fighting with the insurance, but we're still dealing with very fragmented care. There's no concept of an integrated care team where a nutritionist, a psychologist, an internist, a nurse sit together and deal with patients in a holistic way. There's still no system that connects her glucose meter with her insulin, with her sleep, with her nutrition intake. So there's no way she can take control of her own condition. There's no way that the professional health can support her and proactively reach out when they see deterioration or a potential complication. There's no way I can be involved, which is probably my biggest frustration. Because it's very frustrating as a parent when you see your daughter and you know that there's very little you can do. So that has become my personal mission. And then I found out that this applies to virtually everybody with a chronic condition. Then I started looking at the healthcare system, which is still completely organized around acute care, rather than preventive early intervention, where every other industry connects everything except us, where you can go to a connected car and it will predict how you're going to drive and it will make sure you get home safely, where people stick sensors into pipelines so that they can avoid a breach of the pipe and let oil stream. Yet we cannot do it. When you can take your credit card and stick it to any ATM anywhere in the world, in the weirdest places where nothing works, and I experienced that last week in Srinagar, India, nothing works, literally nothing, except the ATM. So I was thinking, now what happens if I drop down here? Because, you know, I'm on medication, I have a history, so how are they going to find out what my medication is, what my history is? And worse still, I didn't see an outlet for healthcare. I see all these financial outlets, but no outlets for healthcare. So the bottom line is we have ways to go, but we can apply a lot of what's been done before. We can apply a lot of the technology that we see around us, and we can give it a different life. We can give it a life in such a way that we can truly support people like my daughter, or my dad, or your sister, or your friends, because everybody will have a story like I have. I experience that everybody has a story like I do. So I think it's our collective incentive to make this work. It's our collective duty to use all the smarts in this room, all these cool people that are really smart, that are entrepreneurial, to apply your core capacity and capabilities towards truly making this a healthier world for yourself, for your parents, for your children, your best friends, and the folks in Africa and the other 1.3 billion people that have no access to healthcare at all. Thank you.